What is up, YouTube land? This is Zachimus Prime, aka Zachimus Prime, here with the Transformers first part for the Transformers Studio Series review. It's review. Studio Series, yes. Anyhow, Studio Series 86, Leader Class Grimlock. This figure is pretty freaking awesome. I actually really like this, and this isn't mine. I'm borrowing it from a friend of mine. Jeez, what is up with my words today? Borrowing this from a friend of mine. I will be adding it to my collection as soon as I find it for myself. This is pretty stinking awesome. I unfortunately don't have the obvious comparison, which is the Masterpiece Grimlock. I used to have one of those, and then I sold it years ago because it did not spark joy, and so over time I am continually whittling down my collection, or whatnot. I actually need to get on that again this year. But anyhow, I unfortunately don't have that figure anymore to compare it with, but it would be a really interesting comparison since this feels a lot like the Masterpiece in many ways. And it would have been really interesting to directly compare them. Because I am borrowing this from a friend of mine, and because he says that wheelie is basically hot garbage, he didn't include the wheelie figure with this. The wheelie figure, by the way, is just a 4 points of articulation, crouched like he's taking a dump accessory, and it doesn't really do anything, and it doesn't really add much to this figure, and it's just there really because at one point in the movie Wheelie rode on Grimlock's back, and so that's really what that accessory is all about. If you want, you can find pictures on the internet, and I think that sums it up. The accessory he does come with is his gun thing here, and it's pretty nice actually. They molded this out of 2 pieces of plastic, so it does not have hollows underneath, which is a big point of departure from a lot of Hasbro's accessories, and it looks really good. I think that's a good look. I think they should do that more often. Why don't they do that more often? I think that'd be great. Anyhow, 5mm peg here. It plugs into his hand just fine, and could use maybe a spot of like silver paint or whatnot, but I think it looks great. In terms of articulation, Grimlock has got a ball joint at the head. Whoop. His head looks down. His head doesn't really look up, but you know, it looks around, rotates, no problem. Shoulders are on a ratchet. That's actually a pretty decent ratchet. They'll go all the way around. So long as you move this wing out of the way. These wings, by the way, are on a joint that brings them out like this, and a joint that brings them like this, and that is it for the wings. So yeah, the shoulder goes around, goes out for full tree pose. He's got a bicep swivel here. He's got a single jointed elbow with fair amount of articulation on it. Swivel at the wrist, which is good. He's got a waist joint. His legs go that far forward, that far back. Go out for a full Van Damme. He also has a thigh swivel, bend at the knee for about 90 degrees. Little bit of heel movement here, mostly for transformation, and a really deep ankle tilt. So in terms of posability, this dude has got posability. I will point out that a lot of these joints are ratcheted, but for whatever reason, the ratchets don't feel even. Like on this side, it's ratcheted, but it feels more pronounced than like on this knee here. Which other joint was I? Oh yeah, no, it's not the elbows. The elbows are not ratcheted. There was another joint that I was looking at yesterday that I was like, wow, this other joint is way more ratcheted than the first one. But I don't recall offhand which one it was, so I'll have to get around to that later. Maybe when I'm in dyno mode, if it's a dyno. Oh, it might actually be. I don't know. Anyhow, detailing on this guy is really good. Most of it is just plastic colors, gray plastic, black plastic, red plastic. This is white plastic, and then they painted it. Or is it? Huh. This is white plastic that's painted gold, and it looks like the exact same gold as this piece here, which makes me think that that really is paint. I think it's painted. I don't know. I'd have to scratch it to find out. And since it's not my toy, I ain't gonna scratch it. I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna love it and yeah. And then he's got a couple of these white pieces here that show up in the tail and whatnot. So it's all really detailed really, really well. If somebody wanted to customize this, like it would take some weathering and just really pop. But anyhow, I love it. It looks so good. Anyhow, let's get this guy transformed up. You want to start with the legs. Take these, fold that in, flip this panel all the way out. You've got this panel here. It comes out on this little double joint here, all the way out. And then you're going to take this will slide over and then come down like so, and then you'll close this up. And do the same to the other leg. Fold that, open this, bring out that little hingy part there, bring this around like so, close that up. There are a couple tabs around here, and then corresponding pegs on the other side. It doesn't really peg together really solidly. Like they almost feel more like locating tabs instead of actual pegs. Because, you know, some of them don't really want to go, and some of them will go, but like they won't actually like clutch in place. And it kind of feels more like, I don't know, it kind of feels like it doesn't really tab together super well, but like the transformation is robust enough itself that it doesn't really need that. Take his chest, yank it out, slide it under. There's this little gap right here is going to go right over these two tabs right there. So you just kind of slide that into place. There's that. Take his fist, flip it around, flip it around. When you straighten his elbow out all the way, this tab here comes into play and clicks into place. And then he's got another joint that you'll untab, and he's actually got dedicated dyno knees. That's super cool, by the way. Love that. Oh, that's the joint I was talking about. I'll get to that in a bit. Anyhow, flip his head in, close these wings down together. Those do tab together really well. Fold his neck down. His transformation is basically identical to Masterpiece Grimlock, basically identical to G1 Grimlock. It's a wonderful throwback and just a good looking figure all around. And there he is in his dyno mode. And god damn it, this figure doesn't look basically perfect. Like, I would literally come out and say that this is basically a perfect figure. I'm not sure. I can't think of any way offhand how Hasbro could have done a better job with this. One thing I forgot to point out when I was in robot mode is that with 5mm peg ports on the bottom of his feet, the size of his legs, his arms, his shoulder, and the back, he actually has a full set of weaponizer peg holes, which I don't know that we've seen that in a Studio Series figure until this point. But that is just something for the trivia pages. But anyhow, with him in this mode here, you can take his gun, and there are 2 tabs in this point. 2 little slots right here. You can tab these into those slots if you so desire. That will hold his gun sideways on his back. You could also, if you wanted to, this little divot in the gun right here will clip right onto his arm. Again, both of these seem kind of odd. You're usually used to storing his gun something like that. Which, I mean, I suppose you could do if you wanted to. It doesn't clip, though. But it sits there pretty nicely. But in terms of articulation on this mode, his head moves up and down. His jaw opens up. His head rotates. These little arms are on ball joints, so they'll go all the way around, and then that ball joint will give them a little bit of in and out and butterfly, if that's what you want to do, and elbow joint. His hip joints are actually his shoulder joints. What was previously his shoulder joints are now his hip joints. So you got the same amount of movement on those joints. His knee has been changed to this new knee, which has got ratchets in it. This one ratchets more strongly than the other one. I'm not sure why. QC, I guess. I don't know. These toes will bend ever so slightly. If you want to do that, you can come in and grab onto something like Unicron's ass. I don't know. No movement down here at the end. No wiggling tail mechanism like what the Masterpiece had. It's just straightforward and... Whoops, I'm dropping my camera. It's just straightforward and, you know, works out really well, looks really well, feels really good. You can pose him like this, which is, I think, how he usually... stands in the movies. He doesn't really want to balance any other way except for if you move him way forward. He'll stand like this. But I think that if you've got him in Dyna mode, this is probably going to be the way to go. He does have a little peg inside his mouth. Let me put that up. And I am not sure, but I think that might be... Yeah, that'll hold an effects part right there. So if you have some cool effects parts, you can clip them into his mouth and he can freaking breathe fire on stuff. That's awesome. I'm trying to remember if he did breathe fire in the movie, and I honestly don't remember off the very top of my head. It is unfortunate that he doesn't come with his sword, but his sword isn't actually shown anywhere in the movie either. Though, that being said, I think it's nice that it comes with his gun, even though his gun only had all of like 2 seconds, maybe, of screen time in the movie, so still, it was a nice addition. And, yeah, Studio Series Grimlock. I absolutely recommend getting it. I am certainly going to get it when I see it. I think it's great. But anyhow, not sure what else I can add to this. Thanks everybody for watching. You guys are fantastic. I enjoy making videos for you guys. And I enjoy that a lot of you guys seem to enjoy it as well. I do read every comment, so if you've got a comment about what I'm doing or how I'm doing it, go ahead and leave a comment for me. I'll read it and respond in some way to it. And yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and everybody stay awesome and be good to each other. See ya.